Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/slash Tales from Tech Support. In today's episode, this isn't working, fix it. Why is this working? Merging companies in tech support, training not included. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. This isn't working, fix it. Why is this working? The last couple of days have been something else. To truly understand my pain, I have to take you back in time to earlier this year when I inherited a project. The cast of characters. Me, yours truly, not exactly sure what I do, but people keep asking me to do it. B, seems to come up with more problems than solutions. Doesn't actually understand her job or anyone else's. K, she came up with the project and is supposed to know how it works. NB, new B. This B replaced the other B because the other B got managed out of everyone's way. NB is great, but the poor B asterisk starred inherited the aftermath of this project. It started by B telling me that the project has been going on for a year, and nobody on the team has been able to figure out this one part, and they figured some fresh eyes would be good. I thought it was weird that a project like this was dragging out over a year, but whatever. I look at the one part and rewrite the code, and K says it tested well. Sweet. Then a few days later B is pinging me going, "Can you look at this other part? That's all that isn't working." So I looked at the requirements, rewrote the code, and K says it works. Awesome. Then a few days later B is back again with, "Did you look at these other things?" No, why would I? You told me these 3 things were all that I needed to look at. Whatever. I start going down the list of tasks. I start banging out code according to the functional requirements, and I start testing the code to make sure I'm getting results in line with the criteria. To my surprise, everything looks good on my end. I'm wondering why folks have been having such a hard time. B is telling me each thing is great, K is telling me each thing testing well. But for some reason all of a sudden I start hearing things that previously worked were now wrong. Here's where I made mistakes. First, I assumed the functional requirements were accurate, they weren't, and second, I didn't ask K how her project should function. I was dealing with B because that's how the process was supposed to go. After talking to K, I came to find out the requirements that B gathered were almost all wrong. K gave me new and accurate requirements which I compared to what's in our project software and showed K why everything I did wasn't working. The silence was deafening. What confused me is K had access to the system and was even shown the requirements as written in meetings. Whatever. New, good requirements in hand, and another few months of beating my keyboard got the project finished. End-to-end testing happens, the project is finalized, signed off on, and approved for deployment, and I release it to the world. I'm the hero, peasants rejoice, and all that jazz. Immediately following the release, I'm besieged with messages from K and her team, lovely people by the way, who are asking me why X is happening or why N is N, literally everything that is supposed to happen as a result of the project. NB jumps in to help me out. We spend hours walking through every step of this project, putting together documentation that should have already existed and verifying that the problems people are having are actually what was in the requirements and signed off as part of the test scripts. You know, business as usual. Fast forward a few months, and I think that brings us up to yesterday. NB, hey, K is saying X date shouldn't be allowed to be on Christmas Eve. It's a company holiday. Can you tell why the code to stop this isn't working? They should have gotten message. Me, okay, so it looks like this code only runs when the status is scenario 1 or scenario 2. Let's see what's going on. After looking at the code and the application itself, I've found out that everything behaves as expected when we encounter scenario 2. Why isn't scenario 1 working? Apparently at some point scenario 1 stopped being scenario 1. Visually, scenario 1 equals scenario 1. But now, unbeknownst to us, scenario 1 is now an empty string. Fantastic. NB, quick fix, right? Me, sure. Gimme 15. NB, great, I'll tell K it's fixed. And here we are today. NB, hey, K wants to know why people are getting message in application. Me, you mean the message that they get when they enter an invalid date like Christmas Eve? You mean the message they were complaining about not getting yesterday? You mean the message? NB, yet it looks like there's a bunch of situations where people entered a holiday, and now it's getting caught by design. I guess I'll let K know. Fin. Merging companies in tech support, training not included. Way back in the olden days, I worked field service for a computer company. At one point, our corporate guys went on a buying spree and found several computer/automation businesses that were in trouble and started buying them up, mostly to purchase the customer base. The products were put in an end-of-life status while the sales guys tried to get customers to upgrade to one of our new products. Some of these outfits had their own field techs, so we were dumped into a situation where we were all supposed to be cross-training and helping each other. Of course, in some areas we suddenly had 2 or 3 techs where there had been 1, and some guys started trying to trip each other up so they would look better when the layoffs started. I was the only guy in my territory, so I got a few new customers dumped on me, mostly stuff that generated a tiny amount of billing, so I figured my days were numbered and started planning my exit strategy. In the meantime, we had a lot of turmoil in the workforce. A bunch of techs saw the writing on the wall and quit, leaving some areas and customers completely uncovered. As an old-timer, I found myself getting called upon to fly to various cities and fix various problems, sometimes on equipment I had never seen before. One of these jobs really sticks in my mind. We had a customer in the Pacific Northwest that had to move into a new building. They were planning to upgrade the computer system, but in the meantime they had to relocate the old one. I had never even seen this type of system, let alone worked on one. I protested to my boss that they should try and find someone else, but apparently there was no one except me. I called a guy I knew who actually was familiar with the system. He was a pretty cool guy and walked me through how to power it up, make sure things were working, so I could certify it. The customer, as it turned out, had already moved the system, they just needed someone from my company to sign off on it. So, taking my notes and tool bag, I flew into city, got a car, and drove over. The new building wasn't finished yet, construction was still going on for the interior, and the computer system was just sitting in the middle of floor. Plugged in but not powered up. This was a really old system, the console on it was the old teletype variety, not a monitor at all. So it had a roll of paper, the black enamel keyboard setup, like something out of an old movie. The power on/booting sequence was some complicated deal: turn switch A on, then toggle switch B, select position Q on switch C, when LED X come on, change switch B to the original position, all the stuff from 70s and early 80s vintage mini computers. At various points the teletype printer would print out stuff, which would tell me if the system was actually up and running. I met with the customer, a very nice lady, and explained that hopefully the relocation had gone okay, and they had connected thing back up correctly. And I started powering up the system. I got through the beginning steps, but when I got to the part where the printer was supposed to output the up and running message, nothing happened. Double checking my notes, I put the switches back to the beginning and started over. Same thing. After the third attempt, I really sweating. I have no idea how to troubleshoot this system. I have no spare parts for it, no documentation, except the how to boot notes, and I figuring I'm just going to have to get the phone with someone and look like an idiot to this nice customer lady. I figure I'll give it one more try. I go through the steps and get to where the printer is supposed to print the OK message. I know the printer works since it prints some other messages earlier in the boot process, and that is working normally. While I'm getting to the final boot step, the nice lady comes up and starts talking to me. I tell her I'm not sure if things are okay or not. It's been a while since I worked on this type of system. I may have to call someone to double check things. She's really nice, explained she didn't want to move the system on their own, but they were given a deadline to clear the original building, she totally understands if something got broken. Again, she's totally cool to deal with. We keep discussing what the next steps might be, when the upgrade system is supposed to be installed, stuff like that. Suddenly, I hear the printer start up behind me. I turn around and there's the "I'm booted up" message on the paper. Sighing with relief, I turn back to the nice lady and explain that it looks like things are okay, the system is up. I write up my report, and now this old system is certified. Nice lady signs my service report, we'll bill them for this trip, all is well. Later on, I checked back with the guy who gave me the booting instructions I used. Does it really take over a minute from the last switch to system printing its message? Yeah, sure it does. That's just the way it is. Why do I ask? I explained that I kept restarting the boot sequence when nothing happened. We have a laugh over that. He didn't think to mention the long wait when he was giving me the rundown. I never had to work on one of those old systems again. I transferred to another department that was installing new Unix systems all over the place as part of a Y2K project.